Welcome to Alog Radio, virtual radio station. Today on Alog Radio, I'm going to discuss connections. We've got a range of sources today, so all these abstract connections, and I'll discuss how things are connected together. If you're new to Alog Radio, let me explain what this is. It's radio about facts, statistics and stories from around the world for your entertainment. If you're up to your eyeballs in BS, or you're bored, or you're fed up with stress, or you just want to listen to something interesting, then welcome, and I hope to entertain you soon. The first connection today is with Superman and the measurement of 1 meter. It's Superman and the measurement of 1 meter. So get your thinking caps on and have a guess on what I'm talking about. I'll give you a clue. The connection is Krypton. As you know, Superman comes from the planet Krypton. I know it's fiction, and also the crystal's called Krypton that gives him power and can take his power away. Although Krypton's actually a gas. The real Krypton has a connection with the unit of 1 meter, the way of measuring it. And let me explain. The real Krypton is an odorless gas, and you can pass electrical current through it if you have enough charge. If you send a surge, and it will emit a light. And if it's the isotope 86 of Krypton, then you'll find that the wavelength of the light is exactly 1 meter in length, and that's the international standard for measuring 1 meter. It used to be another way. They used to actually have a metal bar that's 1 meter long in France, and they've replaced it by this way, because if you had a metal bar, what would happen is it would expand and shrink because of the temperature, so you wouldn't get a precise measurement. Every time you measured it, it would be slightly different. But with Krypton, if you pass a current through it, this particular isotope, and it emits a light, it will always if you could slow the waves down so you could see them, there'd be the start of the wave and the end of the wave would be exactly 1 meter long. But you know, that's the difference, because the Krypton in Superman's a crystal, and the real Krypton's a gas that you're breathing in right now as we speak. We have another connection now. This connection is diamonds and the pencil center that you use on a drawing pencil. So not the colouring pencils, the actual ordinary grey pencil, the HP pencils that you use to draw and write things down. And what's the connection between a diamond and that pencil? The graphite in the middle of the pencil. I'll explain. Diamond and graphite are made of exactly the same thing. They're both made of carbon, although they look completely different, and they've got different strengths and different properties. But they're an allotrope of carbon. So what's happened is, because the carbon atom's able to bond 4 different ways, it can make 4 different bonds. Any shape can be made with carbon. You can make a crystalline structure that you find in diamond, or it can make a lattice structure that you find in graphite pencils. So even though they look totally different, like one's clear and shiny and the other one is black and it disintegrates in layers, they're both the same thing. Here's another connection. The connection is Alzheimer's disease and glaucoma. They're both linked together by a protein. Let me explain now. In Alzheimer's disease, the neurons, the synapses, get debris stuck to them, and the memories of the person become inhibited. And eventually they forget their own name. They lose all their memories and they forget their own name. Sometimes they forget where they live. They lose all their memory and they become a confused state. It's a very terrible disease, and it's one of the most frightening things you can get. And it's my hopes are that it will be cured very soon. But glaucoma is a totally different disease, but it's caused by the same problem. glaucoma is pressure in the eye, and what happens is the eye pressure, the eyes becomes unable to remove the fluid from itself, and it becomes pressurized, and the optic nerve becomes damaged, and the person becomes progressively blind. So in the glaucoma, the person becomes progressively blind, and in the Alzheimer's, they lose their memory. But the connection is actually a protein called the tau protein, which in both cases is abnormal. So there's actually, it's caused by the same group of proteins that are abnormal, and it's thought to be caused by the same thing. And there's another connection now, and that is with the chickenpox and shingles. This is, I don't know if you know this one, then it's not such a surprise. Shingles is an infectious condition where you get a rash, and it's very painful, and it's caused by a virus that's already in your body. It's been dormant for many years. And chickenpox is a rash that you get on the skin, and I think it's actually, the virus is actually related to an STD, I believe. I'll check on that. But anyway, it's exactly the same virus. The virus that causes chickenpox and the virus that causes shingles is the same virus. But what happens is the virus switches off, and when it switches off, your body stops fighting it. And when your body stops fighting it, it just hides in your tissues, like in a dormant state. And then when it's reactivated, your body starts to fight it again. But because you're an adult and you're different, your body's different. Then it attacks you in a different way, and it becomes like it attacks your nerve endings in your skin. It's a very painful condition, but it's the same virus. I'm trying to think what the condition is that is connected. Yes, there is another connection. The connection is chickenpox and syphilis. Syphilis and chickenpox, the virus that causes them are very similar. They're almost exactly the same. There's only like a few bits of DNA that are different. So that's another interesting connection. Except syphilis is very harmful, and chickenpox is harmless in most cases if you get it in childhood, and it's from skin contact, I think. Here's another connection. This is all from my knowledge, by the way, so please bear with me if I get things wrong. But urine has a connection to matches, and the connection is phosphorus. The main ingredient in matches is phosphorus, and there's quite a lot of phosphorus present in urine. And you can actually, if you dry it out, you can actually get, and you separate it, it'll actually crystallize out of your urine, and you can actually get it from that, enough phosphorus to light a match. Here's another connection, and it's from a reading of an article. I read an article recently, like a white paper on a scientific journal, and I can't find it now, but there's a connection between immunity to AIDS and the Black Death. And apparently 10% of all Europeans are immune to AIDS because of the Black Death. And the reason they're immune to the AIDS is because the virus that caused the Black Death is very similar to AIDS, and the people that survived the Black Death had an immune system that was able to cope with the virus. It was actually able to kill the virus, and the AIDS virus is very similar to the Black Death virus. I wish I could find the paper. I can quote the exact name of the virus that caused the Black Death, but as you know, I'm a very busy guy and I'm doing this in a hurry. There's a connection between water and silicon as well. I guess if you can guess what it is, I'll be amazed. There's probably more than one connection anyway. And the connection, I would say, is that when it freezes, it expands. Silicon expands in its solid state, and so does water, and that's because they form a crystal structure. Silicon expands by 10% and water expands by 8.1%. And the reason they expand is because the crystal structure that they form into takes more space than the liquid state, because the atoms become arranged in fixed shapes. So there's space in the middle of them when they're frozen. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you liked it, feel welcome to subscribe or follow where it's attached, and I'll remain diligent to make a new one as soon as possible. And until next time, I say goodbye.